Hello. Hello. Hey, thanks for answering my call. Sure. Thanks for answering the call to serve Unitarian Universalism.
Oh, well, thank you for answering the call to serve Unitarian Universalism. And thanks for answering the call to co-lead worship today.
Well, thank you for answering the call to co-lead worship today. And thank you for answering the call, love. Love how our hands are joined together as hearts beat as one. May we all be emboldened by this faith as we dare to proclaim we are answering
the call of love. Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Society of Schenectady. I'm Reverend Lynn Gardner, and I am grateful to serve as co-minister alongside my beloved Spice, Reverend Wendy Bartel. We are so glad that you have chosen to be together on this Sunday morning. If this is your first time here, we offer you an especially warm welcome on this bright and chilly day. Whether you are here on Zoom or here in the Great Hall, we invite you all to place, in fact,
Let's all do that.
Let's all do that. Let us place our cell phones on their most reverential setting. Unitarian Universalism affirms a diverse array of people and theological and personal expressions. Not all, but many. And if you are here new today, you might not know that if you are referring to me in third person, you can use she, her, hers, or they, them, theirs. For example, Reverend Lynn loves fair trade coffee. She also loves fair trade chocolate just as much. They really appreciate caring for people and the planet. For Reverend Wendy, though, he, him, she, her, they, them are not a good fit. Those pronouns feel like a hat that is too small. But Wendy's name is a good fit for Wendy's understanding of Wendy's gender identity. It takes a little practice because most of our brains have totally connected female pronouns with the name Wendy. But we're up to a challenge, right? Yes, our brains love to categorize and we love to challenge our brains. So it can be fun. For instance, Wendy loves playing instruments and making music with other people, even as Wendy also loves sitting in the quiet and reading or writing poetry. If you are new here today, we hope that you'll join members of the congregation for coffee or tea in the back of the Great Hall or chat with one another on Zoom. And then come say hello to us or stop by the welcome table and be greeted by the lovely folks who are there. We have invited Roxanne Yeager and Tim Moon to come forward to kindle our chalice. And as they do so, we remember that we are part of something bigger. We are part of this congregation, which is part of the Unitarian Universalist Association, or UUA. This week, the UUA released this image and these words from our UUA president, the Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt. Our flaming chalice is a fiery reminder of the commitments of this faith. What if the love we risk by holding fast to our values is the very fuel that keeps our chalices lit?
This morning, our opening hymn is from our new online hymnal, Sing Out Love. The words will also appear on the screen. Now, a version of this hymn is actually in the hardback hymnal. UU musician, composer, author, leader Matt Meyer has written some new lyrics to go with the original and may have found, or perhaps he himself has modified this Appalachian tune a little. The choir is going to help us by singing the first verse. And then we'll all sing the first verse again together. Now, the song has 10 verses. We're only going to sing some of them today. We'll sing more verses soon, though, because the song is really fun to sing. Let us rise in spirit and or in body to sing Bright Morning Star. In the gray hymnal, stars is plural, but in the one that Matt uses, it's possessive. So whatever, let's have fun singing this together. Bright morning stars are rising, bright morning stars are rising, bright morning stars are rising. Day is a breaking in my soul. Bright morning stars are rising, bright morning stars are rising, bright morning stars are rising. Day is a breaking in my soul. Rise up and hear your calling, rise up and hear your calling, rise up and hear your calling. Day is a breaking in my soul. We'll raise a mighty chorus to sing out loud for justice. We'll raise a song in joyfulness. Day is a breaking in my soul. Oh, my people made for loving, right now new day is coming. Day is a breaking in my soul. In faith we'll grow together, we'll build this world up better, with love here at the center. Day is a breaking in my soul. Bright morning stars are rising, bright morning stars are rising, bright morning stars are rising. Day is a breaking in my soul. Last line again. Day is a breaking in my soul. Day is a breaking in my soul. Well done.
The story for this was shared with us by our colleague, Reverend Karen Johnston, who serves in Burlington, Vermont. And I have some objects with me. I have a thermos of hot water and a knee board that would be used behind a boat. Any ideas what the story might be about with those clear clues? What do you think, Aiden? Someone kneeboarding on a boat behind a Great Lake, behind a boat on a Great Lake. Sorry, that is such a good guess. Not quite. Does it help if I tell you that today's service is about centering love? Okay, well, I will tell you. Most of the time, wild animals can take care of themselves in all seasons, including winter. But occasionally, maybe even rarely, there are times when winter weather conditions become so cold or dangerous, even to wild animals. And this is a true story. It's a story that could have happened anywhere and probably has, with different people and different birds involved. But the story I am sharing took place in December of 2024, so a little over a year ago, in Iceland, a small country in the far north. And I know some of you have visited Iceland. It is further north than anywhere in the United States except parts of Alaska. The capital of Iceland and the largest city is Reykjavik. In early December of 2024, on a social media page in Reykjavik, There was a report that there was a young swan stuck, frozen to the ice in the pond that's in the middle of Reykjavik, in the middle of the city. And because the swan was stuck, it was in danger. Now, as happens when someone posts something like this on a public social media page, different people, lots of people, commented. Some commented with worry, some with questions, some with opinions. Is it possible to get help? What can we do? What did the swan do to get itself stuck? Lots of worry, lots of wondering. Then someone named Kirsten Londenberger responded to the social media post saying, oh, and she is described as a naturalist, which might be their job or their hobby, hard to know. And that word can mean different things to different people. Kirsten posted, I am on my way with the necessary equipment. What do you think the necessary equipment is to save a not fully grown swan who is frozen to ice on a large pond? A kneeboard and hot water. Why, yes, a thermos of hot water. Why? To melt the ice around the swan so that the swan can get unstuck. And yes, a kneeboard. Actually, Kirsten used a full size surfboard. Why? In case the ice failed. The rescuer didn't want to fall into that cold, cold water. Kirsten brought one more thing. Any ideas what else she might have brought? Blanket. That would have been a really good thing, too. The story doesn't include that. A towel. That could have been a good thing, too. What she did bring was a friend. Kirsten and her friend, with the help of the thermos and the surfboard, and probably a whole bunch of people who were on the shore cheering them on, were able to thaw some of the ice, and the swan got unstuck, and not too long after, it flew away. Now, when we have a hard thing to do, it is a good thing to have the right supplies, the necessary equipment to help us get it done. It's even more true when we want to help someone or another being or this wonderful planet. We need to use the equipment we have, or to gather the right equipment, or to create it. And then, when the time arises, to use it. Sometimes the most important time is right now. And the most important thing to help and the most important person or being is the one who needs help right here, right now. The necessary equipment might not always be a thermos of hot water, although I can think of many situations when that might come in handy. The necessary equipment might not always be a surfboard or a kneeboard. I can think that the times many of us might need one would be maybe a little fewer, but you know, I am going to say that in most situations, a friend or a helpful companion is definitely something that could be considered necessary equipment. It's so important that we not try and go it alone. We need one another. And kids, you want to make sure to check in with your parents or your guardians to make sure that the folks who you want to connect with are folks your parents trust. Doing things together turns out to be one of the necessary equipment for life. And our Unitarian Universalist religious tradition teaches us to keep love at the center. Sometimes the necessary equipment to keep centering love is a listening ear, or a meal to share, a protest sign, a high five or a hug. Sometimes it's saying yes with enthusiasm. Sometimes it's saying no to things that aren't right or aren't true. Having loving hearts and open minds are pretty much always useful equipment. Letting love guide us on our way is often a helpful strategy.
For those of you who got an activity bag, you can choose any time, but throughout the service, we're going to name a particular coloring page that happens to be in those bags. So if that is either enticement or encouragement or something else, that is great. If you want to find a coloring sheet in those, you might start with the compass page, the one that has a sort of a four-sided star, which these coloring pages are from the Side with Love website. Finding our place in our community can be a loving thing to do. You might notice that on the picture. Our reading this morning was recently written by the Reverend Dan Schatz, who serves our sibling congregation in Westchester in Pennsylvania, and it is called When I Speak of Love. When I speak of love, I do not mean romance, though this too deserves praise. I do not mean a warm feeling, though goodness knows we need warmth in bitter times. When I speak of love, I do not mean making friends, though I could use them, and I recognize only love creates friendship from the ashes of enmity. When I speak of love, I do not mean acquiescence, self-sacrifice, cheap forgiveness, or a false promise of perfection. No, the world is overfilled already with such easy sentiments. When I speak of love, I mean nothing more or less than opening to what is sacred in all of us, even when it is broken, even when it is hidden, even when it is inconvenient. This love transforms and illumines my heart. This love shapes my living. This love demands better of me, always. This love brings me home when I have lost my way. So when I speak of love, please do not shake your head or smile in condescension. Instead, listen to your soul's own longing. Together, let us speak of love.
Before I went to seminary, I studied human development and had a home daycare for 20 years. And how human beings learn is just fascinating to me. When people of any age are learning a language, a lot of attention is devoted to learning the names of things. Anybody else picture the Richard Scarry big book of words? Finger, thumb, head, shoulders, arm, mountain, valley, ocean, river, me, you. We may be less likely to teach or learn the names for parts and places that are intersections, that are not exactly this or that, but are something also powerful and precious, a both and. In justice work, we know that issues are never just one thing, that our commitments to environmental justice, anti-racism, and defeating fascism intersect and can support each other. Likewise, our families, congregations, and communities are strengthened by our array of intersecting identities. So today, wherever you find yourself, I invite you into a time of meditation, a time of grounding, inviting all of who you are into this moment, the parts you have names for and the parts you do not. Feeling your feet on or toward the floor, Let us ground in gratitude for the earth, for the mountains, valleys, caves, rivers, oceans, lakes, deserts, glaciers, and plains, and for the amazing ecosystems and species that are supported in between. Beaches, confluences, estuaries, canyons, marshes, and more. For all the places on earth we can name and those we cannot, we give thanks. And moving into a gesture of care and connection for your own body, let us ground in gratitude for the gift of being human at this time, with whatever beautiful, complicated relationship you have with your body and the bodies with whom you are most connected. We give thanks for our skin, for our muscles and bones, for our hearts and our own steady and tender rhythm, for our lungs and for the gift of our next breath. Each of us enough, each of us infinitely whole. We send some care to those who are ill, who are injured, who are going through treatments or recovering from surgery. May you feel the care and connection of this community. We give thanks for the parts of our bodies that we can name and the parts we may not know a word for, like the perlicue, the intersection between the index finger and the thumb. So many places in between. And as we receive another breath, let us offer thanks for all the beings that our breath connects us to. May our breath be a reminder of our connection with all of life. Connections with the black oak, with ladybugs, plankton, chickadees, and coyotes. With this next inhalation, we ground in gratitude for our ancestors. And we exhale with hope for the well-being of generations to come. An inhalation for our ancestors and an exhalation for future generations. With us right in the middle. And we close with gratitude for all that is possible at the powerful and precious intersections of creative and courageous collaboration when we are grounded in love. May it be so for each and for all. Maria will play Infinitely Whole by Reverend Bran Lennox and Alex Pham. How do you know when love comes calling? That is, how do you recognize an invitation, an opportunity, or a need for you to show up and center or amplify love in the world? I do not have love as one of the contacts in my cell phone. Love and I have never exchanged holiday cards or birthday greetings. And as far as I know, we are not connected directly on social media. And yet, and yet, I would be denying my felt and lived experience if I said that I have never been called by love. Love was calling when I was a daycare provider and parents would come and talk about big and small things in their lives and in the lives of their children. Love was calling when Wendy and I joined with others making legislative visits in Sacramento, advocating on behalf of California's human right for water bill. Love was calling 9 years ago when we came to Schenectady for the first time to meet with this congregation's ministerial search committee. Love was calling when a visitor had the courage to attend worship here after hearing that they were not welcome somewhere else. Love was calling when we visited with families in the hospital and we listened to their stories and sang songs by their bedsides. Love was calling when I listened to someone who I had disagreed with and felt my heart change even though my mind had not. Love was calling when friends in Minneapolis asked for contributions to help cover rent for families who have needed to stay home, unable to work for months at a time. Love was calling when I have felt afraid and said yes anyway. Love was calling in the last big snowstorm when neighbors showed up for one another and we helped clear driveways, shovel sidewalks, and spread as much ice melt as possible. There are so many ways that love calls, and there are so many possible answers. In our Time for All Ages today, we shared the true story of a young swan who was frozen to the ice and how the swan was saved by a person who showed up in time. She showed up with some understanding of the situation, which allowed her to bring along the right equipment, the support of a friend, and the willingness and patience and courage to give it a go. In order to answer the call of love, we need to first be able to recognize it for what it is. Then we need to discern if we are willing and prepared to answer. And then, if we discern yes, we need to respond even if we don't know for sure how it will work out. In the words of our fabulous colleague, Reverend Joe Cherry, if we have any hope of transforming the world and changing ourselves, we must be bold enough to move into our discomfort, brave enough to be clumsy there, and loving enough to forgive ourselves and others. How will you answer when love calls next? And for those with activity bags, if you're ready for a new sheet, you might find the one where there's a group of friends, or maybe it's a family who are all moving together.
Do you remember the first time you arrived here? Perhaps that's today. Maybe you were a baby or a toddler, a youngster, a teen. Maybe you were a young adult or middle-aged or an elder. Something brought you here. Do you remember what it was? We have found our way through birth or choice, providence, luck, and or destiny to this Unitarian Universalist faith and this congregation in particular? What brought you here? Or maybe who brought you here? For our littles, most of you were brought here by your parents and maybe grandparents or other adult caregivers, though occasionally kids want a religious community and ask their parents to bring them. Lynn is one of those kids. For those of you here for the first time, perhaps you are longing to find a community that affirms your humanity, or a place that agrees that what is happening in Minnesota and too many other cities is reprehensible and immoral, or a place where you can explore your deepest questions about the nature of God and not God, of humanity and earth, of how to be a better person, making wiser choices with your one wild and precious life. In her publication, The Marginalian, Maria Popova explores what other writers have written about love. And she starts this article with a quote from Rainier Maria Rilke and then James Baldwin. She quotes, "For one human being to love another, that is perhaps the most difficult of all our tasks, the ultimate, the last test and proof, the work for which all other work is but preparation." Rilke wrote to this young correspondent half a century before Baldwin admonished that loving anybody and being loved by anybody is a tremendous danger, a tremendous responsibility. Popova reflects how we meet that dangerous task may be a function of our fearlessness, but we only ever rise or fall to love's responsibility in proportion to our wholeness. That most difficult of achievements for us fragile beings living in a world that constantly divides us into fragments of ourselves. How to rediscover love, she says, from a place of wholeness, in a spirit of fearlessness, is what Bell Hooks explores in her wonderful 2000 book, All About Love, a field guide to the practice of love in everyday life, and an impassioned manifesto for transforming our culture into one where love's sacred presence can be felt everywhere. We were all born infinitely whole. In some religions, it is taught that we were born with original sin. In this Unitarian Universalist faith, we are born with perhaps something more akin to original blessing, a term coined by former Dominican priest and theologian Matthew Fox. And by the time we get to our teen years, or maybe young adulthood, sometimes sooner for some of us, we've experienced some kind of heartbreak, a sense of wholeness now fragmented, a loss, a breakup, disappointment, disillusionment, and or a death. When we are in that broken place, it can be hard to hear the call to love, let alone answer it. We may feel less trusting of ourselves or of others, especially the person or people or systems that have hurt us. We might need therapy or recovery work or community or divinity or time or our own hard work or creative expression or faith or some combination of those to help us feel more whole again, to repair what is broken. One of my favorite musical resources for restoring wholeness in my broken heart are the Indigo Girls. Their combination of struggle, integrity, theology, and courage remind me that I have made it through other tough times. I'm trying to tell you something about my life. Maybe give me insight between black and white. And the best thing you've ever done for me is to help me take my life less seriously, because it's only life after all, yeah? Well, darkness has a hunger that's insatiable, and lightness has a call that's hard to hear. And I wrap my fear around me like a blanket. And I sailed my ship of safety till I sank it, and I'm crawling on your shore. I went to the doctor I went to the mountains, I looked to the children, and I drank from the fountains. There's more than one answer to these questions, pointing me in a crooked line. And the less I seek my source for some definitive, closer I am to find. Yeah. Yeah. Those of us raised in this Western culture have likely been taught that we have to fix ourselves, pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps, and other myths. Some of us, raised in more conservative religious traditions, might see Unitarian Universalism as some place where you can believe whatever you want, and also other myths. We have our own personal individual work to do, yes. And we also have the responsibility, the challenge, the opportunity to be part of the crucible of creating more true community together. A few years ago, thousands of Unitarian Universalists engaged in Article 2 work, Article 2 of the bylaws of our national association, and it was called Article 2 work then, to be able to articulate our UU values succinctly, yet still with some inspiration. Our value of pluralism means, as stated by that UUA process, that we celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. And because we affirm that statement on pluralism, we covenant to learn from one another in our free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We embrace our differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. That is a very powerful statement in these challenging times. You cannot believe that you have the one right and only answer for everyone and still be a Unitarian Universalist. Or as Lynn named last week, Unitarian Universalism is a faith that affirms the inherent worth and dignity of every person and acknowledges that how we each find truth and meaning may be different. It can almost seem like Unitarian Universalism is all about the individual. But as our colleague and friend Reverend Nancy MacDonald Ladd reminds us, perhaps my theology isn't actually about me at all. If love, or relationality, or commitment to interconnections really lies at the center, then theology hasn't ever been about me. It's about who I'm in covenant with, what that covenant asks of me, and how I am held by that covenant in relationship to that force which is and will always be so much larger than myself alone. To me, that means that answering the call is a both and. I and each of us need to do our personal work, our personal healing work, recovery work, therapeutic work, theological work. And sometimes that means being on one's own to do some of that. And we need to test what we've learned, how we've healed in community. That's why this place, this community can be so important. We are carrying wounds, wounds that others have inflicted upon us and those that we've inflicted on ourselves. We can choose to stay hurt, wounded, misunderstood, angry, or we can answer the call of love and explore with curiosity what else might be happening, what else might be possible, how showing up in community, volunteering, caring for others, being present, listening to each other's stories and perspectives, being willing to be wrong or at least challenge that our own singular perspective may not be wide enough or deep enough or considered enough to reflect the fullness of the human experience or of religious understanding, or of communal care, or of true solidarity and empathy. We need one another, and we need love. That is part of what I so appreciate about the Article 2 language, now we call it the covenant, our covenantal statement of UU shared values, which starts with these words. As Unitarian Universalists, we covenant congregation to congregation, and through our association to support and assist one another in our ministries. We draw from our heritages of freedom, reason, hope, and courage, building on the foundation of love. Love is the power that holds us together. and is at the center of our shared values. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. Inseparable from one another, it concludes, these shared values are interdependence, pluralism, justice, transformation, generosity, and equity. Which reminds me, if you have one of the activity bags and you want to do another coloring page, there's one in there where there's a group of people sharing a meal together. There's more than one answer to these questions, pointing us in many crooked lines. And we got to see many bright and bold and beautiful answers thanks to the artistry of Mr. Benito Antonio Martinez Ocasio, also known as Bad Bunny. We did not watch the football game, but we did watch the halftime show the following morning when it was available. And our social media was full of commentary about it. Maybe some of yours was as well, which was way much more about than the football game itself, perhaps because it was such a blowout. Sorry, the Patriots, but that's how it goes sometimes. But one in particular caught my attention. Perhaps you saw this too, because I saw it reposted by many people. Senator Michael Garrett, Greensboro, North Carolina senator, posted his thoughts about Bad Bunny's performance, writing, "I'm not ashamed to say it. I sat on my couch and I wept, because that is the American story. Not the sanitized, gated, English-only version that small and frightened people try to sell us. The real one. The messy, beautiful, multilingual, multicolored, courageous one. The one that has always been built by hands that speak every language and pray in every tongue and come from every corner." The good senator said so many good things in that lengthy post, that when the moment came, when the whole world was watching, this is what he says: "A Puerto Rican kid who grew up to become the most streamed artist on earth stood in front of 100 million people, sang in his mother's language, blessed every nation in the Americas, and spiked a football that read, 'Together we are America,' into the ground, not with anger, with joy. With love so big, it made hate look exactly as small as it is." And whether you care about football or not, whether you care about reggaeton or rap or not, Bad Bunny had a powerful message for all of us, especially as the frozen blocks are still destroying people's lives in Minnesota and no drawdown has actually occurred. And I agree with Senator Garrett when he wrote, "He just showed the whole world what America looks like when we are not afraid of each other, when culture is shared, not policed, when language is music, not a threat." And then on the Jumbotron for all to see, the only thing more powerful than hate is love. In faith, we'll grow together. We'll build this world up better with love here at the center. Day is a breaking in my soul.
Most of us will never have a stage like the halftime show of the NFL Super Bowl. But that doesn't mean that we cannot still have an impact. We each have the circles of influence that we have. When love is calling, answering with integrity and honesty, curiosity and courage, we can answer more powerfully, more beautifully, more compassionately, more lovingly. Aya de Leon is an organizer, a UC Berkeley faculty member, author, and spoken word artist. In her poem, Calling, she says, "Ordinary folks get called to do extraordinary work." What is your ministry to alleviate the misery? Because minute by minute, the masses get mixed up in the mundane minutia of the moment and miss the miracles. Ordinary folks get called to do extraordinary work. Ordinary folks get called to do extraordinary work. May we find ways to answer when love is calling. again and again. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be.
Rise up and hear your calling. Love will guide us through the long night. Friends were born into belonging, a people made for loving. A bright new day is coming. Day is a breaking in my soul. In faith, we'll grow together. We'll build this world up better with love here at the center. Day is a breaking in our soul. What is your ministry to alleviate the misery? Make a promise. Make a vow. To me, to you, to everyone right now. When the world tries to tear us apart at the seams, when life makes it hard to keep chasing our dreams, when we're messy and weepy and feeble and old, when we don't have a clue what the future will hold, still I will love. May we still love.